my island in the sun. Oh, my island home, my island home. Let me tell you about where I'm from, my island in the sun. Oh.
Well, that was just a very easy way to check out.
Oh my goodness. Simplest and fastest, I think, yet.
Yeah, they get the fastest. The French have now changed over to a system. They haven't gone to sea clear or sail clear that most of the Caribbean is doing, which has a bit more paperwork, etc. This one is very much like the Americans in USVI. You fill it online. You may or may not have to show up. In the French, you fill it online. You don't have to check in when you clear in. But when you clear out, you have to go in, pay your whole €5 for as long as you want to stay here, up to 6 months. And lo and behold, he just stamped it, didn't even sign it, and we're done. Maybe 2 minutes? Well, 4 minutes because we were conversing. Yeah, you're such a chatty little thing. Now there's somebody that's used to having the French park really close to them. We're leaving St. Pierre, Martinique for Portsmouth, Dominica, and we only have partial of our main up. So we have a reef in and barely the full head sail. The reason is that the winds are supposed to be sustained 18, 19 knots, gusts to 24. Right now, the wind speed is probably 11 to 14 knots. No, we're not going as fast as we could. We could drop the sails after, but I think that the wind's going to pick up rather quickly once we get out of the wind shadow of the volcano. Let's see if we can predict this correctly.
And did the winds ever pick up once we were past the northern tip of Martinique? That is one of the practical things we have learned sailing. When approaching the end of an island, the winds tend to wrap around the island and go towards the middle, so be sail prepared.
Wish we would have been prepared for what was to come other than the wind.
This is a wild ride. We're getting up to 9.2 knots. I've depowered the mainsail sheets probably 3 times.
I can barely talk to you.
Only 3+ more hours of doing this.
I find it so frustrating. I'm so shattered by you.
So, a sperm whale crossed our bow at the southern point of Dominica, and it was maybe 1 o'clock at about 200 meters off. The camera needs to initialize before it records. I hit on, saw it come on, and then hit the record button, and then just kept zooming in on it, was getting the spray and everything, then realized I didn't let the camera initialize. So from turning it on to about first the ability to record, probably 3.5 seconds that I didn't wait.
Another good reason to depower our sails to slow down is because we are in the world's #1 location for sperm whale watching, the seas around Dominica. It is rather sporty sailing, with the waves and swells having you go up about 3 meters
9 feet?
and down about 3 meters again. Just look at the horizon to see how much the boat is pitching. Luckily, we saw what was ahead.
A hem, but not for everything.
And now as we start to approach the south of Dominica, the current and the waves, swell, everything starts to wrap around it. So instead of the waves, the swell being on our nose, they're now coming to our beam or slightly after the beam, giving us a little push. So we're getting additional speed without the need of the extra wind. If you look just a bit to the left of that ship, there's a bunch of guys in little boats just sitting there with the same type of markers. So we just may have avoided a whole long net.
We anchored in Portsmouth, Dominique, where the blue dot is, but next time we'll drop the hook where the red dot is because we just missed giant rocks the size of VW Beetles.
We also Q-flagged our night and left the next morning.
Check out our short video playlist on what that means.
Ready for this?
So yesterday we went from St. Pierre, Martinique to the tip of Dominica in Portsmouth, and it was quite the rodeo, holy smokes. What was supposed to be, about 17 sustained turned into like up to 24 knots of wind. and very high waves, but Monashee was a trooper and we made it through. And so now we're leaving here and we're headed to Les Saintes in Guadeloupe. And we'll see. One of the wind models has us at about 17 knots again today, but another one has us at 9.
Yeah.
So you never know. You never know what you're going to get, but we're prepared for it all. The joy of sailing.
Joy of sailing, but it is fun.
It is. And yesterday we saw a sperm whale on the way here and 2 different pods of dolphins. So yeah, that just makes it all worthwhile right there.
So let's see what happens today. All good things, right?
Always.
It doesn't look like a lot of wind out there if you see those 2 sailboats. Remember what Mojo said about either end of the island and what the wind can do.
So keep your seatbelts fastened for what you're about to see.
And just like that, 13.8 knots of wind, 6.4 knots of speed. So as long as we can keep 14 to 17 knots of wind, we'll get there in a good timely fashion doing 6.5, 7 knots.
I bet you say me tell you say you're not gonna regret. I bet you say me tell you say you just not see it yet. Well, I reggae
And then the sea critters came, as if on cue to say, "Hi!"
Or, this is their known territory.
Or the critters came to say, "Hi!" and told some bigger friends, who will come too.
Yeah, big aquatic life. Awesome.
Dolphins coming straight at us, about 200 meters out, almost right in line with the mast. You can see their little spouts every so often. There they are. See them, the pod?
Mojo does a great job on road snacks, as I'm hungry like the wolf.
These are the kind of seas that we hope for. We're doing 7 knots and 15 knots wind with 1 reef just to be safe because it got so ugly yesterday. But truly, the sea state is low. Big giant whale just breached over. You might see a bit of the waves. It came out of the water probably about 20 feet.
Oh, wow.
One of the things that I love the most about living on Monashee is the sea life that we get to see on a frequent basis. Eagle rays, sea turtles, dolphins.
And whales. Yeah, really big and close-up whales. Awesome. Well, some people like to say the ocean is the animals' territory and we're the trespassers. I like to think of it as all of ours to use. But we have a special obligation to take extra care because we understand our role and responsibilities.
With the increase in the popularity of ocean and coastal cruising, incident reports and near misses have increased dramatically.
Most whale encounters go completely unreported because there's no organized registry of collision or attacks.
You know those initials spell orca, right?
Maybe. We're going to show you some great examples of whale encounters and lessons learned, starting now.
Our first case happened in the summer of 2010 when 2 local sailors, Paloma Werner and Ralph Mates, were sailing off the South African coast on their yacht Intrepid. A juvenile right whale, estimated to weigh 40 tons, crashed across their yacht, inflicting heavy damage not only to the yacht but also the whale.
That's a lot of blubber on the rubber.
While they did nothing to entice the whale, it started from 100 meters away and kept coming closer to their boat, and then bang!
Bang? I was going to say, the biblical Leviathan rose in a majestic arc, glistening form suspended like a monument above the sea.
Trust me, bang is good.
My takeaway? Whale is a-comin', and we're a-wind a-runnin'.
Thanks, Jar Jar Binks.
Ouch, that's harsh.
You were reaching.
Maybe. Our second case involves an encounter in March 2023 when a 44-foot monohull named Rain Dancer sank in the Pacific halfway between the Galapagos and the French Polynesia, where it rammed a whale. One of the 4 crew members, American Rick Rodriguez, described the scene.
We were in the cockpit eating pizza when it happened. It's impossible to say whether we hit the whale or it hit us. We sank within 18 minutes. The damage was too massive for us to do anything.
Fortunately, everyone survived.
Sadly, not in this next case.
Case Study 3 occurred in September of 2022 when a 28-foot monohull charter fishing vessel near Goose Bay, New Zealand capsized after a sperm whale had surfaced. Unfortunately, 5 people died of the 10 on board.
The coroner stated that while the whale collision caused the issue, the people died from inhaling fuel fumes that accumulated under the overturned hull, where the people were gathered in the air pocket while their inflated life jackets prevented them from swimming down and away from the boat.
Only thing they could have done was take off their life jackets if they were able swimmers. If not... Then there are the numerous collisions during the Volvo Ocean Race, and like the legendary French ocean sailor Olivier de Kersauzon says,
When a 45 ton spermoides on stabottak, itras jeitovui, italsoras jeitovui, when itis on portak.
These boats travel upwards of 20 to 25 knots, while we go 6 to 8 knots on Monashi. With new hydrofoil speeds of 50-53 knots, yes, they have smaller waterline by far, but can you imagine the result of the impact at those speeds?
Time will tell, as it will happen.
It will.
And we would be remiss if we didn't at least mention over 675 interactions killer whales
Orcas
have had with boats between Portugal and Morocco from 2021 to 2025.
Of those reported, 62% resulted in no damage, 33% in moderate damage, and 15% in severe damage. On average, about 2 boats sinking per year, while beyond some bruising, no sailors have been hurt in any of the incidents.
It is believed that a matriarch orca has been teaching the other whales of the pod to go after the rudders of sailboats. But scientists have yet to explain if it is done in play or something else.
Well, just like fun on a Saturday night, sometimes play can get a little out of hand, and whales don't have a safe word.
Oh boy, you were doing so well.
What is the takeaway from the case studies other than colliding with a whale is a bad idea?
Well, from our research, the 3 most effective actions sailors can take to avoid whale collisions and protect themselves and the animals are...
In reverse order, number 3...
Avoid sailing at night or in poor visibility and high-risk whale areas. Most whale strikes happen when visibility is low and whales are resting near the surface.
So simply delay or reroute your passage to daytime sailing in known whale zones. We actually came across a sleeping pilot whale and only noticed it from about 20 meters
60 feet.
away. Immediately cut our speed, hard to starboard, and just glided by it about 1 meter or 3 feet off the port side doing 4 knots.
It didn't even wake up.
Number 2.
Use a dedicated lookout or passive sonar. Whales surface for air and can be spotted or detected via underwater sonar. Passive acoustic systems help detect whale vocalizations before visual contact is made.
Realizing most of us will never invest in such a system, we actually don't play on our phones or watch movies while at helm, but actually keep watch.
Podcast good, movies bad.
And the number 1 thing you as a yachty can do to avoid all hell breaking loose.
Slow down in whale hotspots. Whales can't always react fast enough to avoid fast-moving boats. Sailing at less than 10 knots significantly reduces both collision risk and severity.
So pull back on that throttle, or reduce sail, when in whale corridors in the Caribbean like Dominica or Statia.
Check your resources to know where whale habitats are and use your common sense.
Ah, common sense. Just like you wouldn't go to Yellowstone Park and pet the pretty buffalo, right? If you're wowed by what you're watching, whack that wonderful like widget. It works wonders by widening our web of watchers who will welcome what we're whipping up too, like Douglas M. and Rebecca R.
The earth you pollute, give us junk food. The kids are running circus in the school. All the oil.
Thanks for sharing our journey and subscribing. And check out this next video, as we believe Captain Ahab would like it too.
In God we trust, in God we trust. gold, the oil and the drugs. In God we trust, in God we trust.